Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast, your home for all things Chelsea FC. Nick, Dan, and myself cover all the match reviews from the latest Chelsea matches. We cover the team news and even throw you some exclusive interviews. Thank you already for being an awesome listener. And you know what? Let's jump right in. And we're back with another episode of the London is Blue podcast. So excited to be back after an international break. But then the match was played, really. So then my excitement, Nick, kind of waned a little bit. It's just been a roller coaster of emotion all weekend for us as Chelsea fans. Football's back, and then it was shit.
Pretty much. I mean, in summation, I think we can end the show. Football's back, and it was shit. Nice.
Shortest episode ever. I mean, Dan, that would be a little brutal for you as you had to make a bit of a drive this morning just to record.
Well, it's when you're visiting family for the holidays, like Thanksgiving, you have to put in some extra miles. Not as bad as some of those, Europa League night away trips that some of our supporters have gone through. So, you know what? I could show up. Brandon. Not a problem.
I believe we're all renaming it Fansgiving now, right? That's what we're all doing? Is that
dude, there were so many cool stories that came out of it, though, and I know it was great to see Brandon in one of the videos there helping out in Minneapolis with Laura and the supporters there.
Don't blink, you'll miss me.
The father-son combo that got to go to Stamford Bridge for the first time. Yeah, just a really awesome work that the club did, or at least the North American marketing arm of Chelsea, to be very specific, so we don't draw ire towards the wrong individuals. Did great work.
Yeah, and I moved this up in our script a little bit here, but like overall, I just want to give props to the club on this. I think it was a really cool initiative that they did to partner a giving back campaign with Thanksgiving. Obviously, kind of the festive time of year over here, kind of kickstarts our holiday season. We understand that like Dan said, the stories that came out of this were it was like there was someone chopping onions in my house all over the place, or tear-inducing stuff. Especially
that wasn't just someone making the stuffing, right? That was actual tears.
Not just the stuffing. It was pretty incredible to see fans get surprised all over the country. It was great. We also understand, and we listened to the Chelsea Fancast last week, that there are supporters who have been around the club for a really long time who have never received that kind of thanks, praise, etc. And I can understand how that can be frustrating. We do hope, and sincerely hope, that the club, kind of makes its way around the globe with some of these initiatives, and hopefully starts right at home in the UK, and hopefully can do some cool campaigns there. That makes sense. So we do hope that is a thing. But I also, just again, I know we touched on this last week. It was crazy to me to see Twitter, Dan, kind of rip each other apart over a cool thing, and it really bothered me to the point where I wanted to bring it up again. Just like, can we just have a nice thing for a quick minute, just 1 minute? Just have a nice thing.
Sure, and I think there's ultimately the macro solutions for the club to solve, and there's a few individuals who've reached out either through us or through the Fancast on ways to try to figure out how to do nice things for their fellow Chelsea supporters. And we're going to explore those avenues and figure out how we can make the micro changes occur as a Chelsea community, both home and abroad. So stay tuned for some of that stuff as well.
What a Christmas miracle that would be to solve the Twitter hate, Nick. That would be quite amazing.
Brandon, everybody's just going to get coal in their stockings. That's it.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, Dan, we did have another iTunes review, albeit rather mysterious.
Yeah, the unknown soldier, or the unknown individual who decided to go and leave a 5-star review on iTunes, but did not put a comment, so we can't give him a shout-out. We can't thank him by name, but we appreciate the love on iTunes. And you know what? We'd like to give thanks to everybody who's left one previously, and to those of you that are listening right now that are going into your app and leaving a 5-star review as I'm mentioning it is something we are very thankful for, because it helps us just engage with other individuals who support Chelsea around the globe and want to get in touch with the show. There were a couple of really awesome responses to the tweet and photos we put out, just wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving and kind of saying the things that we're thankful for. There's one individual indicated that they've been going to games since the 60s, but just found the podcast and appreciated what we would do. And that was really nice, Nick. It made me feel really good about the way that we can kind of connect across generations of supporters, and a couple healthy reviews always help that out.
It's always been incredible to us that our friends from the UK and Australia and Canada and every other country that's left a review find our perspective interesting. I think that was always our goal, was just to maybe provide something a little bit different, since we have different watching habits, and we're always blown away by some of the support that we receive when we go to the UK and go to London and watch matches, and certainly don't take that for granted. So thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you to JK, who joined the Patreon party over there. He will get some nice perks and unlimited access to ask as many questions as he would like, to which he did right off the bat. Anyways, as we move on even closer to the beginning of this one, Nick, it was a bit funny, pretty personal, as I can't relate, from @HuskerBlue1 saying, "Is this the worst Thanksgiving from a sporting perspective for Nick Verlaney?"
Oh, man.
Go Big Red, huh?
It was dark, bro.
Isn't that what they say?
Yes, that's what they say. Brandon, thank you. Here's what I'll say about the weekend, Husker Blue. At least our Cornhuskers put up a fight, At least they put up a fight. Young team could have rolled over, to lose on a last-second field goal, hurts, but at least they fought. And I can't say the same as much about our team in blue.
All right. Well, let us go ahead and move on into the match preview. Actually, as we're growing, Nick, as we're making big changes and strides as a pod, kind of our new match review-ish sponsor, partner in crime. Who is it?
Classic Football Shirts. That's right.
Nice.
That was my announcer voice. So we've officially partnered up with Classic Football Shirts for a limited campaign. We're excited to work with them, and just wanted to give our friends and family the heads up that if you go to classicfootballshirts.co.uk, use the code LondonPod like you would for World Soccer Shop or any of our other endeavors, that will bring you 10% off of your order. Now, if you've never been to Classic Football Shirts, prepare to nerd out. There is some really great Chelsea gear on the site, including signed shirts, limited edition shirts from the 90s. If you're one of those kind of 90s in vogue people, Dan, it's the real deal.
Yeah, they've got an excellent selection, everything from the wonderful Coors type of Chelsea kits, Autoglass, all the different sponsors that you've seen across time. And yeah, it's a great selection, and we're excited to be working with them. And most likely our live podcast in London will take place in their shop in, I believe, what is a old brewery, as you continue to mention, Nicholas.
Correct. So we're really excited to do that. We'll also have a couple of, just a sneaky hint for you guys, a couple of shirt giveaways. I have seen the shirts that we have selected. They are badass. So not to wax on too much about this, but they're great. London Pod, 10% off at Classic Football Shirts. Do it, buy your holiday gifts, and thank us later.
Yeah, specifically buy your holiday gifts for yourself, because these are amazing.
Yep.
All right. Well, here we go into the match review. It was Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League at London's NFL Stadium, known as Wembley, and it was this past Saturday, November 24th. Score Blues 1, Spurs 3. Match lineups and stats, Dan. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Good luck getting through this one.
Well, playing quarterback in the London Stadium here was Kepa Arrizabalaga, responsible for kickstarting all offensive action. Moving forward to the line, the O-line there, we had our defenders, Rudiger, we had Alonso, we had Azpilicueta, and we had Luis. Yeah, you need to send people downfield, maybe some running back situation there. You had Jorginho, Conte, and Kovacic, kind of a three-headed demon. And then you had some wide receivers and tight ends go catch the ball downfield and hopefully put the ball in the end zone. And then you had, it was Eden Hazard, Willian, and Alvaro Morata. He did have some people on the sidelines, though, as well, called upon in action in case if anyone had an injury. That was Willie Caballero, Zappacosta, Christensen, Fabregas, and then you did see a couple of substitutions throughout the game. That was Ross Barkley, Pedro, and Olivier Giroud.
All right. Well, from a stat standpoint, this might surprise you, but Chelsea had 60% possession of the ball. Only 2 shots on target out of a total of 13 shots. Spurs, on the other hand, had 18 shots, 9 on target. Touches, 758, passes, 552. A little bit low, but unfortunately not really low enough compared to what you would think. You would have thought we got a lot more out of this match based on what we have in previous matches. In the end of the day, we did have 5 offsides, and I'm not going to make that joke right now, but yes, they were all Alvaro Morata. 3 yellow cards, which was probably a massive problem for us, and 12 fouls conceded. By the way, Spurs didn't have any yellow cards, so not bitter at all.
Is that because they play such a clean game? Or?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So with that being said, this is going to suck. We're going to run through the goals. Maybe we'll get a little preventing out of the way for us, though. So, Nick, 8th minute, Dele Alli assist Eriksen.
Yep. There's not much Aretha Balaga could do about this, to be completely honest with you. This was just, Eriksen killing us yet again. He put a perfect ball in. Dele Alli got a nice glancing header on it. It was a bullet. I don't think any amount of reaction time from me would have saved this. I know that Kepa was getting a lot of grief on Twitter for this one. Brandon, I'm not sure that was warranted.
Let's talk about the free kick, huh?
Yeah.
Was it? Really? Was it really a free kick?
It was not. It was 100% a flop by Harry Kane. Now, David Luiz has had a nightmare of a game. We all can admit that. But this was a simple trying to guard the ball out of bounds, and he made a tiny step, might have clipped the little toe of Harry Kane. He goes down like he had been shot and was gifted a free kick there. And unfortunately, that just, this was a bad game. Overall tone of this podcast, we were shit. Okay, can we just throw that out there? We were terrible. We deserved to lose. But that was just a tiny moment that we might have felt aggrieved by, Dan.
It was not great. And I think
well said.
We'll go through all the nitty-gritty details, but I think ultimately it was an unfortunate result, but it's a great wake-up call to what needs to happen next.
Yeah, I feel bad for our British fans out there. I thought Harry Kane was pathetic in the sense of not standing up to tackles, getting thrown around the pitch, throwing himself around the pitch, and it would be hard for me to kind of lambast one of our best players and just kind of take a dig at him after everything he's done for them. And maybe like us, digging out Landon Donovan back in the day because he had a shocking game at a club level and it was embarrassing. That would be hard for us to do. So I'm interested to kind of read the rhetoric on social media and the articles in here. But overall I know Kane had on paper a good match, but I didn't see it. I thought he played a very pathetic I'm the victim role all game, and it was not impressive in the least. All right, so the next goal was Eden Hazard from the penalty spot. It was... Yep. It wasn't. Oh, okay.
It was not.
So Sarri was asked if the decision not to award Eden Hazard a penalty at 1-0 had an impact on the outcome. And Maurizio says, quote, "I do not think so because for 90 minutes there was a difference. I have to study the 90 minutes, not only one action. I don't know if it was a penalty. I saw it from 50 or 60 meters away from the bench. In my opinion, it was a penalty, but Tottenham won very well," end quote. Cool. Great. Yeah. That doesn't help me.
Doesn't help me feel anger.
But here's the thing I would say. So Eden came out and was asked about it, right? And was very much saying that he thought it was potentially a penalty, but the official has to see it and has to award it correctly. And look, it sucks. It sucks that funny enough, I was visiting a friend's house and we were watching the Besiktas game. Which crazy. It was just BM Sports was on the rest of the day to try to kind of give me some other footballing memories from the day that might not be as terrible as these. And whatever team they were playing against, they scored a goal and then they actually pulled up the VAR because they had missed a foul on the player that during the build-up to the goal the opposition team had scored, and actually returned it back to the spot so that they could then so they disallowed the goal. They put back onto where they should have given a free kick to Bastikas, and you know what, like, it was really weird and it wasn't explained well, and so there's a lot that has to go into fixing VAR for it to be employed correctly. But this is one of those moments where you wish Martin Atkinson could get a little push notification on his watch or get a little voice speaking into his ear saying, hey, you know what? You need to look at that real quick because
you fucked up.
That does not look right. And but I mean, I think the thing is, like, there are technological limitations to them getting it right all the time, and like they need help. Officials need help to officiate the game better.
Yeah, okay, they may need help, but this was a layup. He was 15 yards from it, staring at it. He saw Foyth run into the back of Hazard. The ball didn't move. Like, I agree, in principle, you are 100% right. You shouldn't have needed VAR for this one, is all I'm saying.
No, I agree. I think Brandon's right. I mean, it was a layup. At any other point on the pitch, if you go through the back of someone, it's a foul. So I don't understand why it wasn't given here. I don't think it changes the outcome of the match, by the way, so I'm not saying that. I truly believe that Spurs were just better than we were on the day. But at 1-1, it's a different scenario. Maybe momentum's not, as, in their favor, and maybe they don't score so quickly after. But who knows? I just think we can feel aggrieved because it was a clear penalty that should have been given, and maybe we lose 3-2 instead of 3-1. But, just unbelievably poor display from Martin Atkinson in totality. I thought he was poor for both sides, but this was probably his crowning achievement of shit on the day.
There was a really good comment I saw, and I don't remember who put it on Twitter, but that after this, they referenced the fact and reminded us that none of the English or the FA officials were called up to the World Cup. So it was just a good reminder that when we complain about officiating, it's not just a Chelsea problem; it's a English footballing problem, where the officials are not good enough for the game. And you know what? Like, we've seen it in the NFL. When the officiating has not been great, it causes additional consternation. And you know what? It definitely doesn't it doesn't affect maybe the earning potential of these teams, so they, or these teams, these organizations, so they don't care as much. But to fans, it's probably one of the most challenging things to do, to watch a game and have to be frustrated by what is or isn't called and the consistency within that. But I think we should talk about more goals so that we can get through the suffering and the cathartic moments.
There's 0% chance they don't care about poor officiating. Just saying. They have performance bonuses, appearance bonuses, goal bonuses. Like, dudes want to get more money. They care. Anyways, we'll move on. 16th minute. Let's just rocket through these. Kane with an absolute bullshit goal, assist Eriksen. Yada yada. David Luiz turned, screened Kepa. It just rolled into the near post. It was soft. It was garbage. It was soft. Next one, 54th minute. Son. And if I see, what are the Sonaldo bullshit that's been running around social media? Give me a break. I'm not interested on
That's
making
unbelievable.
Son Heung-min compare to Ronaldo. Anyways, assist Dele Alli, which pisses me off even more. And is it really an assist? He took 17 touches after he got the ball. I'm pretty sure that's not an assist.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, by the way, just on the definition of an assist. Like, you can have a crucial pass, but like,
absolutely,
Son did all the work. Like, all of it. Like, you shouldn't get an assist for that. Like,
you know who
David
didn't
Luiz,
do the work? Oh.
Yeah, our defense, and Jorginho and David Luiz specifically, because they were fucking horrible on this. Yep. There's your E rating, baby.
All right. And then finally, a bright hope, Ali Giroud, World Cup winner, coming in and getting on the goal sheet. 85th minute. Dan, this man jumped. He rose above the clouds.
Like a salmon.
Floated for a bit and then smashed it home on his compatriot, Hugo DUI Lloris.
It was a great goal. It was a great goal. It was set up by Azpilicueta, who knows how to deliver a ball to the head of a striker.
It was a half volley. That was a tough cross.
It looked difficult, and you know what? It was great effort, and credit to Giroud for coming on and making an impact. And he went right into the net to grab the ball to bring it back, and we'll talk about the fight and the will and the leadership on and off the pitch at or absent at Chelsea throughout this podcast. But it was great to see, even in the face of essentially the game being over, that he was ready to go and wanted to continue fighting for any type of result.
Thanks for being a professional, Olivier. Azpilicueta as well, even though you didn't have a great game. Those are two professionals, and they showed it, and that was pretty much what I was waiting for all day, was who's going to step up and take on the professional responsibilities. They did.
All right, well, let us go into all the fun details of what actually went on in the match now. First one being the blame game. So, new segment on the podcast. No, I'm kidding. Dan, are you blaming Jorginho, maybe Conte, maybe Kovacic? How about Luiz or Rudiger, Morata, or maybe even Aspie, who was the captain on the pitch, not really maybe performed all the captain duties like he should? Or are you going high level? This is where you're at. You're probably going high level and pointing the finger of judgment at Maurizio Sarri and his staff for not prepping the team, right?
Should we do like a blame game power rankings?
All right, number 5 on Nick's board.
Now go ahead, Dan.
We do weighted averages and try to figure out based upon each of us where they rank. I think everyone has blame. I think no one is absolved from the failures of this match. I think if you want to start with Sarri, who has been very much this is the formation I play, these are the players I select, and has talked about the mental issues and hurdles that the team is facing right now. You can look at the defense across all aspects of it. I think Luiz is going to get a lot of the stick. Rudiger did not have a fantastic performance. Azpilicueta struggled. Alonso was not always in the right position. Jorginho had a rough game, one of his roughest, I think, so far. And the attack was pretty much non-existent. Morata was offsides again. I think someone made a comment that Morata and offsides name a better relationship or a better duo tweet, and that was hilarious to me in the moment. Not in reality, but in the moment. So I think, again, and you also, there's credit, and I'm trying not to vomit in my mouth as I say it, but credit to Pochettino for figuring out exactly how to play us and to put our backs against the wall and continue these crosses across the back that we saw against the Arsenal game that Emery was able to exploit for their 2 goals. That was really great and worked in the space many Tottenham attackers who should have had more goals, Nick.
Yeah, as soon as this game started, I texted the group that we were going to lose 4-0, and that almost happened. That I blame the mentality more than anything, but I think if I had to ascribe to go power ranking just to do a different take, I think Sarri has to be at the top of the list. The team was not ready for the press, and that I think was probably the key factor in the game for me. They did not deal with the press well all day. They looked really sheepish on the ball. There was no confidence pinging it about the field. Like, the way to beat the press is to just have a dominant possession game where you're making them second guess if they should press or not. And they didn't do that at all yesterday, and it was pathetic. So he's number 1 on my list, and kind of in order from there, I think Jorginho had a terrible game. He would probably be number 2. Luiz would be number 3. I thought Aspie had a tremendously poor game for his standards. And then, if we're talking about leadership, guys, Aspie's the captain on the pitch. I didn't see a ton from him yesterday in terms of trying to get this thing turned around. Everyone's pick for captain at the beginning of the year, Eden Hazard, I think tries to pick it up with his play and lead by example, but I didn't see a ton from him yesterday either. Guys who have been around a while, like Willian, another poor game for him. Morata isn't a leader, so he's off that list. N'Golo Kante tries to lead by example, but, not really great for him either. So, you start to look around, and a guy like David Luiz, who's been around forever and won everything, nothing, and I think this is a big problem we're going to get into, but there's just no turning it around yesterday, Brandon. There was nothing to inspire the team.
So based off of your assessment, I would say that you're putting mostly on Maurizio, the head coach, and Aspie, the essentially coach on the field, which I think is right.
And I was wearing Aspie's jersey yesterday. I fucking love him, but
sure.
he had a bad game, right?
Well, and to allow your narrative to take hold, Maurizio did say in the press conference after the fact that they were not anticipating, or they were surprised with the formation that Tottenham and Pochettino came out with, which is the 4-3-1-2. And if you're talking about the ability to plan, prepare, and strategize, that shows us right there that Sarri was surprised by the setup, which, if you're thinking about the tactical preparation for this match, if you're not planning or preparing for that eventuality, then that is an indictment. And again, we love Sarri. We love what we're seeing so far. I think it's you got to take it on the chin. And this was not the best result. It's never great to lose to Tottenham. And there's going to be a lot of key learnings to take away from this. And hopefully we can look at it very honestly in the light of day and say, these were areas where we need to improve with the tactical coaching of the players, with the selection of who we put on the field, and what positions are critically in need of reinforcement in January and then also in the summer.
So I'm not there. I'm not telling Maurizio what he should or shouldn't be doing. I just have questions. And the two questions I had right at the beginning of the game, I was talking to Josh at Brits this weekend, from the Twin Cities Blues. And I kind of asked him, I was like, well, Kovacic didn't really play for Croatia because he had a muscle injury. So he didn't play. Now he's starting today. Barkley looked really good against Croatia. He's obviously fresh because he's just unbelievably fit. And then Willian played with Brazil and Pedro just hung out all week. Why would you start Willian over Pedro? And again, I'm sure Maurizio was trying to achieve a certain situation in the final third that Willian would have been better. And, look, Willian had some good crosses to Morata early in the first half. We all know why they didn't go in or why they wouldn't have counted. But I think, to me, I at the beginning, I could see what Chelsea were trying to do. Like, I really could. And it was working in the very few chances we had. The end product wasn't there. So, to me, I thought that, in hindsight, Kovacic was horrendous, which definitely did not help Eden Hazard, and it definitely did not help Jorginho or Conte. The midfield was pulled all over the field. The gap between our midfield and their back line was terrible. The Spurs found so much space. I haven't seen our back line run towards our own goal so much this season. And Rudiger's early yellow, which again, I know he had a handful of Kane's jersey, but it's so soft that early in the match. I mean, that hamstrung him big time. He didn't put in a tackle the rest of the game, except for that one time he accidentally tripped Kane, in which, again, they were looking for a second yellow. But to me, Conte on a yellow and Rudiger on a yellow were huge misses for us because they couldn't play their game, really. So I think that It was definitely the snowball effect. A couple things went wrong at the beginning, and it just kept coming. And as a player trying to get out of that, you feel helpless. You honestly do. You're like, nothing that I'm doing is working. I don't know what to do to get out of it. I'm just going to try to survive. And we did not survive by any means. But we got to halftime, right? And it was bad. It was 2-0 at that point. We had the penalty shout. We've had some chances with Morata. By the way, Morata looked as good as he has all season. Unfortunately, it's still not good enough, which is probably the bigger concern. But Nick, do you have any idea why Sarri, sent out the same team? It looked like the same formation, the same personnel, and the same roles going into the second half. I know there's a lot of talk about, does Maurizio not have a plan B? What were you thinking when we came out for the second half?
I think he did it because it worked so well in the first half that he wanted to keep going.
Okay, well, you know what?
No, I actually don't know. To me, and we brought this up on the show before, when you're down 2-0 and you've looked just god awful, the solution that I would have put forward, and I know it's probably, this is debatable for anyone else who has their own thoughts on tactics or whatever, but my thought would have been to bring Barkley on for Kovacic, to move Eden into the middle of a 4-2-3-1, move N'Golo Kante back for protection, and play that way. You can still have triangles. You can still drop your number 10 or, quote unquote, your number 10 back. So it could be Barkley or it could be Hazard, depending on who's switching. And that way you at least have more of a cut and thrust, and you're not leaving yourself so exposed at the back. That being said, I don't know what his plan B is. He seems so far to be tactically inflexible, Dan, and that's only because we've only have a small sample size of matches to look at so far. But he hasn't really changed, the formation per se that much this year. A couple of times, perhaps, but it just doesn't seem like he wants to ever move out of the 4-3-3. And if that's the case, then I don't really know what he could have done differently.
I think it actually came down more to the execution of how Sarri ball or Cerissimo, whatever you want to refer to it as, is effective, is that the passing and the recycling of the ball needs to be so much quicker than what we see on the pitch presently. It is actually turgid at times to watch the possession move back and forth. There was some casual moments from many players who were jogging at times or watching rather than trying to continue to push the ball forward, to recycle, to continue to move it rapidly. Part of that is down to Tottenham pressing and reducing some of those lanes for the ball to go through, but the type of players that we have either need to be coached into doing that more effectively, or we need the appropriate style of player who can move the ball quickly and get the ball down faster than Tottenham can regroup and then put 4 or 5 people in the way of the ball at the end of the pitch. So I don't know if I necessarily think it's down to tactical inflexibility. I think he has a preferred style and method, and I think we just have to accept that that's going to be his mentality. I think the challenge is, does he have the right players to execute on that? And if we don't, then he's trying to help them learn it, because he's a chef who has the ingredients he has, at least through January, and that's going to be a little bumpy. And I think it comes down to, does he select some different players who can execute on more of that plan effectively than he does right now, Brandon?
Isn't having a preferred system the same thing as tactical inflexibility? If I can nitpick you a little bit.
You can always nitpick, Brandon.
But right?
You're entitled to it.
He's tactically inflexible because he has a successful track record of doing what he does, right?
Yeah, I don't see, I think we've seen so many positive results from it so far, and some learnings that have come along the way, that I don't think, with this being the worst result so far under Sarri, that he goes about trying to change the his coaching philosophy or come up with a different solution. I think the solution has to be player or personnel based and not tactic or formation based, because formation changes all the time on the pitch. Like, we can say that we line up with a 4-3-3, but that can change throughout the match multiple times. I think it comes down to, more than anything, the personnel that's ending up on the pitch, and are they the best ones capable of actualizing his style and his philosophy? That would be my larger looming question, especially as we get into, again, 3.3 games a week, and this is not, or 3.3 days between games, and that's not going to leave any of the people that were currently on the pitch today in good shape if they're the only people playing it.
Right. And to clarify, I'm fine with him being tactically inflexible if it works, right? Like, I'm not happy with his zonal marking on set pieces.
Oh, God.
So that's a hard thing for us Chelsea fans. That's a hard pill to swallow, because there's been many days when Cundy has gone in on Arsenal fans for zonal marking, and here we are. So now this is our cross to burden, and we'll have to get through it, but I don't like it. To be fair, though, what I do like is Maurizio he's an open book. It's weird. I think I like it, but I'm not sure. So here's some thoughts from his head on why at one point Eden Hazard played up top. He says, quote, because I had to do something different in order to change the match, but it wasn't important because today they were better than us. 11 players out of 11. I wanted to change the match with something different, but I could have changed 11 players with the same result, end quote. I don't like that. I don't, again, I thank you for being transparent, but to me, that's a little like we had no answer. And maybe that's because his next quote is a little more damning on the players. So he says, this is from Nisar Kinsella from Goal.com, who's at the post-match press conference, said, sorry, quote, we played very badly from the physical point of view, mentally, technically, especially the first 25 minutes, and tactically. We have a lot of problems to solve. I knew it well before the match. It is clear for everybody, and I hope for the players, end quote. Look, we got beat up today, physically and mentally. When you have Spurs players laughing at you as a Chelsea player, holy shit, does that get you fired up? And they had no response. They had no reaction. They had no answers. And to me, that's really where I got upset, because we didn't look to really break up the play. We didn't look to assert ourselves physically. And overall, I just didn't like the way that the team showed up today. And, Nick, I think I understand a little bit the whole idea that Sarri is a very tactically astute manager, and I'm sure he's asking his players to learn a lot. I don't think we've seen a Chelsea team that has struggled this badly after an international break because of how specific this team plays versus like maybe a more basic 4-2-3-1 or 4-5-1 or all those variations. His very, very calculated 4-3-3 with Jorginho at the base and two box-to-box midfielders running off them. It seems like international breaks are the worst thing ever for this team because it disrupts the flow so much.
Well, right. And I think to your point, he said about Jorginho, Sarri says using Jorginho today was impossible because of the way Spurs targeted him. We were surprised because they played with a 4-3-1-2, which is a weird formation, but sure. They were really narrow, and I think that's interesting. But also, to me, this is where he has to be, he recognized this straight away and didn't really do anything about it, right? If Jorginho is being taken out of the game because they're double or triple marking him or crowding him or fouling him or whatever, and he's in charge of the tempo, he's like the metronome of the team, then you have to do something to get him free. And to me, that just, I don't really know what he was thinking, just keeping him at the base of the midfield. I know he wants a system to work, and I know it can be beautiful at times, but at some point, then you have to, react to the changes they're putting your way and try and punch back. And they didn't, right? That was, I think kind of the basis of why we're all frustrated. It's also a mentality thing to me, Dan, that this is a huge rival. Beginning of the festive period in my eyes, end of November through January pretty much is this festive period. And we're away at Spurs, and they just beat us last year at the Bridge. We were there for that match. The anger that I felt at that was huge. They came out and laid an egg today, and I don't get how there was, not the energy or enthusiasm or will to beat them back.
Let me jump in here and kind of position this, because this is exactly what I wanted to wrap up this match review with. So Dan, coming to you on this, saying, when someone punches you, you either do nothing or you hit back. And today, Chelsea did nothing while getting punched over and over. There was a lack of leadership. There was a lack of competitive edge and a lack of understanding of what losing to Spurs actually means to this team. Our buddy at Jeff Borzello, he also summed this up nicely in a tweet, saying he thinks today's disaster is more than just tactical tweaks. Chelsea came out with no energy, no fight. Sure, Sarri needs to figure out the Conte-Jorginho conundrum and what to do when teams man-mark Jorginho, maybe buy in January, but today was more than that, just miserable. #CFC.
That is a wonderful summary. It basically encapsulates everything, and I think we don't have to say anything else. Borzillo did a nice job with that one. It definitely looked like there was a lethargic start to the game, and from minute one, Tottenham came at Chelsea, and Chelsea didn't know what to do in response. I think we'll talk about the system again and again, is tactically intricate, and it is still taking time to learn and develop. I think we have been spoiled by the run to the start of the season, which had papered over some of the opportunities still existent in the squad today. When you think about the fact that for the start of the Premier League season, across all matches, the Chelsea are just behind Man City in most chances created per game. City are at 14.8. Chelsea are at 14.3. Then after that, it's Liverpool and Wolves are like 10-8, 10-6. So the system and the production and a lot of the things are working. It's just some of the finishing hasn't been great, and you would hope that this type of game would be the game where players would step up. We've seen it before. We've seen Eden Hazard really just destroy Tottenham on a couple of occasions. We've seen Rudiger, Azpilicueta, Luis, Alonso step up in big ways in these matches before, and for some reason that just wasn't the mentality coming into this game. And it could be fatigue, it could be a lot of other things. I don't think we like to, on this show, kind of ascribe what the feeling or the narrative in the locker room kind of thing is, but I think ultimately this is a great opportunity to learn and move forward. And we were not going to go this season without losing a match. So I would rather that be done now before we continue further into the Europa League, further into campaigns in the FA and Carabao Cup, into the Premier League season before we play Manchester City. This is terrible to lose to Spurs. It's never great, but it's good to, if we can take the right lessons away from this, Nick, should ultimately be a good thing for us, much like under Conte, losing to Arsenal helped us transition into a really positive return there. So I think that's the way I'm trying to take this and project some positivity into the Chelsea sphere.
Yeah, I'm bummed that they didn't hit back. I think a JT and Ivanovic, a Drogba, a Lampard would have hit back really hard. But we didn't have that today, and we haven't had it for a while. And, at some point, the quote-unquote leaders on the pitch that we have will either have to put up or shut up, right? It's easy to be kind of a front runner in a game. It's easy to score 3 goals and have the wind at your back and play really attractive football. It's really hard to come back 2-0 down to a rival at half. And there was a little bit of fight there at the end. We had a couple of decent chances, but to me, this team and this mentality, they need to start faster, and they need to punch back. And against a rival, of all the games in the world, against a rival, it was just brutal, and I think we're all upset. I think we all have to take this in stride, though, to be completely honest. Like, something that I struggle with, admittedly, at times. But, it's one game out of a season. If at City we get smacked and go 1-0 down really quick, I hope that they show up and play better. And that would just be, a really great way to prove that you're advancing and changing as a club.
All right. Only positive coming out of this match is that Chelsea continue their streak of scoring in the last 10 minutes, which shows that there is a little bit of fight and resolve. Unfortunately, nowhere near enough. So before we jump to the man of the match poll and the final table, Nick, we've got more deals for our listeners.
Correct. World Soccer Shop, Cyber Monday is coming up by the time you hear this pod. It'll be Cyber Monday. So if you use the code CW1825, you'll get 25% off your orders. That's huge. If you're ordering something for $100, just take that 25% off. Do that math in your head. We would encourage you guys to use that deal, which is, again, the code is CW1825 to take 25% off your order. The only note we have about this is it cannot be combined with our typical London Pod code, so just kind of know that it won't be able to be combined. But friends at World Soccer Shop want to help you hook it up for the holidays. Do that.
All right. Well, as we wrap this one up, again, thank you all for hanging in there with us. It's not been easy, and we know that you all are not in a good mood on this most likely Monday morning, as are we. Not happy about it. So, anything else you want to pull out of this match we maybe have missed, Nick, Dan? I know we specifically didn't have a whole section about Atkinson. I feel like we got enough kicks and jabs in, but anything else, Nick, that maybe you want to pull out of this one?
I don't know. I think the midfield needs work. That would be my major takeaway, and I think we're probably due for some changes on the Thursday Europa League game, but that will be just, again, a different type of game. Paok, Dan, not our biggest rival.
Not our biggest rival, but good opportunity to maybe restore some of the mentality where we didn't have it this match. And I think the only thing that I would add before we get to a little man of the match poll is I think there, in my mind, are two immediate changes that need to take place from a midfield and defensive positional swap. But you know what? I'm gonna tease that one into the Tuesday episode because we got a lot of questions about it. So,
Part 2.
No. All right. Well, Dan, twinkle toes your way into this man of the match poll. I have no idea how you're gonna get out of this one.
Well, it's very easy because the man of the match was Kepa, and everyone agreed with it, or at least 48% of the smartest people did. We did have a second place for Martin Atkinson, who denied 2 goals. It doesn't even need to be a keeper, and he can keep 2 goals out of the back of the net, which is pretty exciting. Good for him. Giroud at 13%, and then other was 4% specify. A couple people put some shouts in there for Conte. Obviously, he was continued to be all over the pitch, even though it was not a great result. But congratulations on a new 5-year contract, too. We didn't talk about that. That's good for N'Golo Conte, and good for Chelsea.
Dan, you've ruined my surprise end tweet for part 2, so I'll just say it now because you ruined it like you always ruin everything. I said on Twitter yesterday, and it got some love. One of my tweets got some love, which is nice. I said this at 3-0 down, so I know we won 3-1. Just throwing it out there. Do you want to know why N'Golo Kanté got a huge pay raise? Because at 3-0 down, he's the only one running to try and win the ball back. Sad bar to clear, but he clears it every game. It's called professionalism. He was the epitome of that yesterday, and congratulations, man. Happy to have you at Chelsea till 2023.
So not to dig you out, it's just funny that you accompanied that tweet about his defensive work rate with a gif of him scoring against United, doing the opposite.
Yeah, I was trying to summon goals, Brandon. That's what I was trying to do there.
Then we did not pull our weight yesterday. We could have done a lot more on the Twitter sphere. All right. So there is the man of the match poll. Without a shadow of doubt, Kepa making save after save, getting left out to dry time and time again. It was good to see him fired up and heated, and essentially telling the blokes in front of him that that's not good enough, except he probably said it in Spanish. So as the table stands, Man City still in top with 35 points. Liverpool second on 33. Spurs jumping Chelsea into third on 30 points. Chelsea dropping to fourth on 28. Now, Arsenal won this morning, so they have jumped up to 27 points, only 1 point behind. Thankfully, disclaimer, not that I wanted to come down to this, but Chelsea do have a semi-healthy +5 goal difference over both Spurs and Arsenal. Everton climbing to sixth on 22 points, and United, after that 0-0 draw with Palace, somehow climbed up to 21 points on 7. So starting to be a bit of a break between 5th and 6th, but that also means there's only 3 points separating Spurs, Chelsea, and Arsenal at this point. So it's going to be a very competitive rush to the end of the season. This table is going to be tricky, but thankfully Chelsea play Fulham next, or maybe not, thankfully. Ooh, little cliffhanger there. You'll have to tune into part 2 and see, as we do answer your social media questions. We do look ahead to PAOK, and we do look ahead to Fulham as well. So yeah, another big week for Chelsea as well. The good news is we have many opportunities to bounce back and wash away the pain that was Spurs at the weekend. So again, listeners, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for engaging with us on social media, via email, via text. And thank you in advance for those of you who are going to use the promo codes that we have given you. It does support our show directly in a very tangible way. So with that being said, a thank you very much. And until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.